Dash Adams Autobiography, November 23rd, 2287. Despite my growing ambivalence with the organization, the Brotherhood's goals are at least temporarily aligned with my own. Not just collecting sweet-ass power armor, but also locating and destroying the Institute. Or at least, in my case, whichever asshole at the Institute gave the order that killed my wife. With that in mind, I was given some personal leave to seek out my next lead, a Dr. Amari in a town called Goodneighbor. Upon entering, we were accosted by an adorable street tough who didn't seem to see my giant laser gun or equally heavily armed robot sidekick. Before we could teach him the error of his ways, the town's mayor came to our assistance and corrected his wayward citizen. Harshly. Said mayor is a ghoul, an irradiated human whose immunity to aging comes at a certain cosmetic cost named Hancock. Well, I'm not entirely sure I approve of his method of keeping order in the streets. I do appreciate a man who knows the value of a fine hat. Speaking of fine hats, on my way to Goodneighbor, I'd happened to stop by the ruined offices of Hubris Comics, a childhood favorite of mine, and picked up a souvenir, the trench coat and fedora of the Grey Ghost, star of comic and radio drama voiced by the late Simon Trent. Entering Dr. Amari's establishment, the Memory Den, this was noticed by a fellow Grey Ghost aficionado, another ghoul named Kent Connolly. He said he knew of some nearby ne'er-do-wells who could use a hard lesson in ghostly justice and offered to pay a bounty if I administered said justice in the guise of the ethereal enforcer himself. With my beloved wife dead, science may very well be the thing I love most in the world. But rounding out the top 5 are vengeance, money, and vintage pulp superheroes, and this job had all 3. I considered it well worth the time to take Kent up on the offer. With that out of the way, I spoke to Dr. Amari in the Memory Den, who was able to use a bit of technical wizardry usually reserved for recreational purposes to plug me, through Nick, into a cybernetic implant I'd retrieved from Kellogg's brain, allowing me to actually experience the man's memories as if they were my own. It was a sobering thing, being put into the very mind of my own nemesis. Kellogg's backstory was a tragic one, full of loves lost, indignities suffered, and hard choices made at great cost, making me wonder whether, in a different reality, I might not have called him friend. Just kidding, that guy was an asshole. I murdered him in cold blood, and I'm glad he's dead. More to the point, the experience revealed that the Institute is so well hidden because it has mastered matter teleportation, a technology that was only theoretical in my time, and that a rogue Institute scientist named Virgil may be my only hope of gaining entrance to the place. Also something about Sean aging a number of years while I was frozen and either being cured of or simply growing out of most of his horrible mutations, so, good for him. As I was setting out in search of Virgil, however, I was called into Mayor Hancock's office. It seems he had heard of my ghostly activities and was appreciative.
You just don't stop. Stay you, pal.
But also wanted to warn me that the ne'er-do-wells I'd offed were part of a raider gang whose boss had kidnapped Kent Connolly in retaliation. Unwilling to take this affront to the Slate Spectre's justice sitting down, I tracked the villain to his lair and came really, honestly, incredibly close to saving Kent's life. So, I don't know, points for trying? That taken care of, I touched up the lead shielding on my power armor and set out toward Virgil's last known location, which was in the Glowing Sea, an area of high radiation centered around the impact crater of the only bomb to hit the Boston area back in the war. The journey was long and difficult, but before long I stood before Virgil himself, and him only slightly worse for the wear thanks to radiation exposure. Well, he was surprisingly amicable to helping me infiltrate the Institute, but there was a catch. To access the matter teleportation device, he'd need a transponder code found only in the memory banks of a Courser, an advanced synth manhunter and super soldier dispatched by the Institute to hunt down rogue agents such as himself. Virgil cautioned me to expect a fight the likes of which I'd never experienced, for these coursers are near legendarily intelligent, crafty, and equipped with the most advanced technology known to mankind. That was easy. Ah, what a fine day for science!
Hi everybody, Ben, HBI2K Creighton, creator of Dash Adams Science Hero, and this is Minnie. If you've been giving to the Patreon, you've been paying for her food, so we're both very grateful. We want to thank everybody personally, but we can't because a lot of people haven't let me know how they wanted to be credited. So if you are a patron but you don't see your name on the screen, please go to the Patreon page, scroll to the bottom under Creator Posts, Find the post for your tier and let me know how you prefer to be credited. We've blown past the first few reward tiers, so we're gonna have some cool extras starting next month. Thank you all for the support, and I'll see you next episode.